What if every problem you've ever worried about was actually the same problem wearing different masks? Take Sarah, sitting at her kitchen table at 2 a.m., her mind cycling through the same 3 worries: tomorrow's presentation that could determine her promotion, her mother's passive-aggressive text about missing Sunday dinner, and the credit card bill that arrived yesterday. Each problem feels urgent and separate, demanding its own solution and mental energy. But then she notices something strange. The same tight feeling in her chest accompanies each worry. The same mental prosecutor building cases against her worth. The same defendant scrambling for excuses. It's the same voice, the same fear, just wearing different costumes. This lesson teaches that underneath every worry, conflict, or stress we experience, whether it's work pressure, relationship drama, or financial anxiety, there's really only one core problem. Once you recognize what that single problem is, you'll see that it's already been solved, which means all your specific problems dissolve too. Imagine your mind as a courtroom where you're both the prosecutor and the defendant, endlessly arguing cases against yourself. Every problem is just a new case file: the case of the difficult boss, the case of the unpaid bills, the case of the awkward text. The prosecutor stands up: Your Honor, the defendant failed to prepare adequately for tomorrow's meeting. Exhibit A: They spent Sunday watching Netflix instead of reviewing the slides. The defendant scrambles: But I was exhausted. I needed rest. Back and forth it goes. Charge and defense, accusation and excuse. Meanwhile, Sarah sits at that kitchen table, physically exhausted but mentally wired, running through every possible scenario for tomorrow's presentation. Her shoulders are up near her ears. Her jaw is clenched. She's been holding court in her mind for hours. Here's what we miss in these midnight courtroom sessions. We're so busy prosecuting and defending that we never question whether this court has any real authority. We assume the charges are valid. We assume the trial must continue. We assume someone's keeping score. Watch what happens when Sarah switches from the presentation worry to her mother's text. The content changes. Now it's about family obligations instead of work performance. But notice, same prosecutor, same tone, same underlying charge. You're not good enough. You're letting people down. You should be different than you are. The credit card bill, same voice again. You're irresponsible. You can't be trusted. You're failing at basic adulting. Different evidence, same accusation. Different case file, same courtroom. This is the recognition that changes everything. It's not 3 problems or 30 problems or 300 problems. It's one problem, playing dress up. One voice, trying on different costumes. One fear, speaking through different scenarios. When you see this pattern, really see it, something shifts. The mental noise that felt so convincing starts to sound repetitive, even boring. Like a movie you've seen too many times, where you can mouth the dialogue before the actors speak it. Now here's where it gets interesting. What if someone walked into your mental courtroom and said the court has no jurisdiction here? What if the charges were dropped long ago, and you're free to leave? What if all those case files are just meaningless papers scattered on an empty desk? Sarah feels this shift happening. The tight sensation in her chest, which seems so connected to tomorrow's presentation, suddenly feels ancient. This isn't about tomorrow. This is about a story she's been telling herself for years, maybe decades. A story about not being enough, about having to earn her right to exist, about constantly being on trial. But who's running this trial? Who appointed this prosecutor? Who gave this court its power? The more she looks, the less solid it all seems. The prosecutor's voice, which sounded so authoritative 5 minutes ago, now sounds like a child playing dress-up in an adult's robe. Here's the part that might sound impossible until you feel it for yourself. This problem, the only real problem, has already been solved. Not tomorrow. Not when you finally get your life together. Not when you achieve whatever the prosecutor says you need to achieve. Already. Now. Done. How can a problem be solved before you solve it? Because the problem was never what you thought it was. The problem was never the presentation or the family dynamics or the finances. The problem was believing you were on trial in the first place. The problem was accepting the prosecutor's premise that you need to defend your worth. Sarah sits back in her chair. Her shoulders drop. For the first time in hours, she takes a full breath. The presentation tomorrow. It's just a presentation. She'll prepare. She'll do her best. She'll learn what she learns. But it's not evidence in some cosmic trial of her value. Her mother's text. It's just her mother being her mother, working through her own mental courtroom dramas. The credit card bill. Numbers on paper that she'll handle, step by step, without the theatrical commentary. When you stop treating each worry as a separate crisis and recognize they're all variations of the same misunderstanding, a profound shift happens. The mental noise quiets, your shoulders drop, and you feel genuinely at peace for the first time in years. Not because your problems got solved in the way you thought they needed to be solved, but because you've stepped out of the courtroom altogether. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop caring about your life. Sarah still prepares for her presentation. She still responds to her mother. She still makes a plan for her finances. But she does it from a completely different place, not as a defendant desperate to prove innocence, but as someone who was never on trial to begin with. The relief of this recognition is physical. That chronically tight chest loosens. The clenched jaw softens. The racing thoughts slow down, not through effort or meditation techniques, but because there's simply nothing left to defend against. The war is over because you've realized you were both sides, fighting yourself in an empty courtroom, adjudicating charges that were dismissed before the trial began. This is what it means to recognize that your problems have been solved. Not that your circumstances have magically changed, but that the one problem beneath all problems, the belief that you're guilty until proven innocent, that you must earn your peace, that you're perpetually on trial, was based on a misunderstanding. You're already free. You've always been free. The courtroom was empty all along. If this felt grounding, you're welcome to like the video and subscribe. No rush. Just a gentle way to stay connected as we continue. Let's find a comfortable position and allow the body to settle. No need to sit any special way. Just let comfort find you. Take a breath that feels good. Not deep, not controlled. Just a breath that your body wants to take. Notice your shoulders, without changing anything. Just notice where they are. Now let them drop, even a millimeter. Feel that small release. Bring to mind one of your current worries. Just one. Let it be there without pushing it away or pulling it closer. Notice where you feel it in your body. The chest, the throat, the belly. Just notice. Now, very gently, ask yourself, what if this has already been handled? Not by you, not through effort, but handled nonetheless. Feel what happens in your body with that question. Don't think about it, just feel. Let your breath be natural. Let your mind be as it is. Imagine that mental courtroom we explored. See yourself standing up from the defendant's chair, walking toward the door. The prosecutor's voice may continue, but you're no longer required to listen. Step outside the courtroom. Feel the spaciousness, the quiet, the freedom of not being on trial. Rest here. Nothing to defend, nothing to prove, nothing to fix. Your worth was never in question. The trial was never real. You are, and have always been, free. Stay in this recognition as long as feels good. When you're ready, take a gentle breath and slowly open your eyes. Carry this freedom with you. The courtroom may call you back, but you know now, you don't have to answer. Thank you for practicing with us today. If you'd like, there's a link to a free digital copy of ACIM in the description. And if this video resonated with you, please comment. I am grateful. Thank you for spending this time with us today. As you move through your day, remember, when the mental prosecutor starts building another case, you can simply notice it and smile. You're not on trial. You never were. Be gentle with yourself, especially when you forget and find yourself back in that courtroom. The door is always open, and you're always free to leave.